I had 17 seconds to decide, stay silent and keep my job, or tell the truth and lose everything. 6 years. That's how long I gave them. 6 years of arriving first, leaving last, and watching my ideas get credited to people who would know innovation if it hit them in the face. My name is Jordan, and I wasn't just tired, I was invisible. Every quarter, same ritual. I present the strategy that saved us millions. My boss, Marcus, would nod, take my folder, and 3 days later, he presented as his own vision. The worst part, everyone knew. The smirks, the awkward silence, but nobody said a word because Marcus had power, and I was just replaceable. Until the day I discovered what he was really hiding. It was a Tuesday night, around 11 p.m. I was the only one left in the office, finishing a proposal that was due the next morning. My computer froze, so I used Marcus's workstation to print the document. That's when I saw it. An email thread left open on his screen. The subject line read, Project Fusion, confidential bids. My hands went cold. Project Fusion was our company's biggest contract negotiation in a decade. $12 million. I scrolled down, my heart pounding in my chest. Marcus wasn't just stealing credit for ideas. He was selling our competitors bidding information to them in exchange for a percentage of their contract. He was sabotaging our own company for personal profit. I took photos with my phone, 3 screenshots, enough to bury him. But here is what they don't tell you about discovering corruption. The fear doesn't hit you immediately. First comes the adrenaline, then comes the math. If I expose Marcus, I'd be going against the senior vice president of a corporation that employed 4,000 people. I had no allies in leadership, no protection. And Marcus? He played golf with the CEO every Sunday. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat in my apartment, staring at those screenshots, playing out every scenario. Report him to HR? They'd warn him first. Go to the CEO? Marcus would spin it, make me look like a disgruntled employee trying to sabotage him. Go public? I'd be blacklisted from the industry forever. By morning, I'd made my decision. I wasn't going to report him. I was going to use what I knew as leverage to finally get what I deserved, recognition, a promotion, maybe even his job. I know how that sounds, but after 6 years of being erased, I wanted justice. I wanted him to feel what I felt. The next day, I walked into his office and closed the door. I'll never forget the look on his face when I said, I know about Project Fusion. He went pale, not angry, just pale. For 5 seconds, neither of us spoke. Then he laughed, actually laughed. He said, You think you're the first person to figure out how this world works, Jordan. You think you're special? He stood up, walked to the window, hands in his pockets, completely calm. He told me that if I said one word, he'd make sure I never worked in this city again. He had connections, lawyers, friends in every major firm. But then he offered me something. A promotion, senior analyst, 20% raise, my own team. All I had to do was delete those photos and forget what I saw. I felt my stomach turn. This was the moment, the choice that would define everything. I looked at him, this man who had stolen years of my work, my dignity, my future, and now stood there offering me crumbs from his table of lies. And I realized something that changed everything. I didn't want his crumbs. I didn't want to climb a ladder built on corruption. I didn't want to become him. So I said no. His face changed. The fake smile disappeared. He told me I had until end of business to clean out my desk. I was fired, effective immediately. Security escorted me out. 6 years, gone in 6 minutes. I sat in my car in the parking lot, holding a cardboard box with my coffee mug and a plant, and I thought, what have I just done? The next 3 months were brutal. I couldn't get hired anywhere. Every interview went well until they called my previous employer for references. Then, silence. Marcus had blacklisted me, just like he promised. My savings ran out. I sold my car. I moved into a friend's basement. I was 32 years old, starting over with nothing. But here's what Marcus didn't know. I still had those screenshots. and I'd sent copies to someone before I walked into his office that day. A journalist named Rebecca Chin, who specialized in corporate fraud investigations. I told her everything. She spent a month verifying the story, following the money trail, interviewing former employees who'd been burned by Marcus. The article dropped on a Monday morning. Front page of the business section. Senior VP accused of corporate espionage and bid rigging. By noon, Marcus was suspended. By Friday, he was arrested. The company settled with the competitors for $8 million. 17 employees came forward with their own stories of retaliation and stolen work. But the story doesn't end there. Because while Marcus's empire was crumbling, I was building something new. In that basement, with no job and no prospects, I started consulting. I reached out to every small business owner I'd ever met and offered them the same strategic expertise I'd given my old company, for a fraction of the cost. Word spread. One client became 5. 5 became 20. Within a year, I had hired my first employee. Within 2, I had an office and a team of 8. We specialize in helping mid-sized companies compete against corporations like the one that destroyed me. And the irony? My old company became one of our clients after Marcus left. They hired us to rebuild the reputation he'd shattered. Today, my company generates $4.3 million in annual revenue. I have 32 employees, and every single one of them gets credit for their work. We have a policy. Ideas belong to the people who create them. Always. No exceptions. Last month, I ran into Marcus. He was coming out of a coffee shop downtown, looking older, tired. He saw me, and for a moment we just stood there on the sidewalk. He asked how I was doing. I told him I own my own company now. He nodded, gave this sad little smile, and said, "You always were too honest for that place, Jordan." Then he walked away. Here's what I learned. They'll tell you to be patient, to wait your turn, to play the game. But some games aren't worth winning. The moment I stopped trying to fix a broken system and started building my own, everything changed. Not because I was special, but because I refused to stay invisible. Your job will never be enough if you're living someone else's vision of success. So quit trying to matter in places that don't value you. Build something that does. Because the only approval you really need is your own, and that nobody can ever take away.